I still can't figure out exactly when it started feeling wrong. I had just walked in through the gate. Everything felt normal. The street was quiet, like it always is at that time. There was a slight chill in the air too, nothing unusual. And when I got to my front door, at first I didn't even notice it. I swear, I just reached out automatically, like I always do, to grab the handle. But the handle was already a little loose. Like it wasn't in that locked position. I stopped. It was such a small thing, but I don't know why my brain picked it up instantly. Maybe I forgot to lock it. That was my first thought. And honestly, it made sense. It happens, right? You're tired, you're rushing out, you forget things. But then a second later, something else hit me. No, I usually check twice, like properly. Turn the key, then pull the handle just to be sure. And that day too, I kind of remember doing it. Or maybe I didn't. That's the problem. I can't remember exactly. I was just standing there, my hand on the handle, and inside it was completely dark. Pitch black. No lights on. Usually I leave a small light on in the lounge, just a dim one. But that night, nothing. And the door was already unlocked, slightly open. Just enough that if I didn't even push it, it would probably move on its own. I didn't push it. For a few seconds, maybe 2, 3, I just stood there, listening. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I don't know why, but that silence felt worse than any sound. That day had been long. I didn't get off work until around 10. My head was already fried. The roads were louder than usual too. Horns, people, everything just felt too much. So when I finally turned into my street, I actually felt relieved. It's always quiet here. There's just one street light at the corner, and even that flickers half the time. The rest of the street stays kind of dim. I don't usually notice these things, but that night, everything felt sharper. Like I could hear my own footsteps clearly. Tuck, tuck, tuck. And the weird part, there was nothing else. No TV sounds from nearby houses, no people talking, no bike passing by. Just me and the sound of my steps. I even turned around once. I don't usually do that, but I did. Nothing there, of course. Empty street. Then I reached my gate, took out my keys, unlocked it like always. Everything was normal at that point, completely normal. I closed the gate behind me, locked it, same routine. Then I walked up to my front door, and even then, I didn't feel anything strange, just tired, thinking I'd go in, take off my shoes, and just collapse on the bed. But yeah, thinking about it now, there was one small thing, something I ignored at that time. There was no light coming from inside. Usually there's a faint glow under the door, just a little bit of light spilling out. But that night, nothing. And then I was standing right in front of the door. And the rest, you already know. The handle was already loose. I didn't open it immediately. That's the thing. My hand was on the handle, but I just stayed there, still, like my body was waiting for my brain to catch up. I remember slightly pushing it, just a little, and the door moved, easily, no resistance at all. That's when it hit me properly. This wasn't locked, not even half latched, nothing, just closed. And I felt this weird drop in my stomach, like something quietly sinking. I stepped back a little, just stared at it, trying to think. Did I actually lock it? I tried to replay it in my head, leaving the house earlier that day. Keys, door, turning the lock. but the memory felt blurry, like I was forcing it. You know when you try too hard to remember something and it starts feeling fake? Yeah, exactly that. For a second, I even convinced myself, bro, you're just overthinking. You were late, you rushed, you forgot. Simple. End of story. But then, another thought slipped in, very quietly. If I forgot, then why does it feel like I didn't? I know that sounds stupid, but it's different. Forgetting feels careless. This didn't feel careless. This felt wrong. I looked down at the lock again. No scratches, no damage, nothing forced. So yeah, logically, it had to be me, right? I even gave a small, awkward laugh just to break that feeling. Nice! Good job! But it didn't help at all. Because even while I was standing there, trying to act normal, I noticed something else. The door wasn't just unlocked. It wasn't even fully shut. There was a tiny gap, barely visible, but enough. Enough that the darkness inside looked deeper. Like it wasn't just a dark room. It felt like something was sitting behind it, waiting. I leaned in a little, trying to listen again. Same thing. Nothing. No fan sound, no movement, no shifting. Just silence. And I swear, for a split second, I had this strong urge to just turn around, walk back out, and not open that door at all. No reason. No proof. Just a feeling. But then again, what was I supposed to do? It's my house. So I stood there, hand on the door, arguing with myself like an idiot. Open it. It's nothing. You're tired. But the other side wasn't agreeing. And that hesitation, that small pause before going in, that's the part I keep thinking about now. Because I feel like, somewhere in that moment, I already knew something wasn't right.
I don't remember deciding to open it. My hand pushed the door a little more. It opened without a sound. That was the first thing. No creak, no friction, nothing. Just smooth. I stepped in slowly, one foot first, then the other, and for a second, I just stood there, right at the entrance, letting my eyes adjust. It was dark, but not completely. There was just enough faint light coming in from outside, behind me, stretching into the room in this thin, dull strip. You know that kind of half-dark, where shapes are visible but not clear? Yeah, that. I didn't switch the lights on. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't want to disturb something. That sounds stupid, I know, but that's exactly what it felt like. Like turning the light on would announce me. So I just stood there, looking. The lounge was right in front of me, same as always. Sofa on the left, table in the center, TV mounted ahead. Everything exactly where it should be. Nothing broken, nothing missing, nothing wrong. And that's what felt wrong, because it was too normal, too still. Usually, even when no one's home, there's some kind of background noise. Fan humming, ridge running, something. But here, there was nothing. Not even a low vibration, just silence sitting in the room. I took a few steps forward, slow, careful, like I was trying to not make sound even though I wasn't sure why. My shoes felt louder than usual on the floor, every step slightly echoing. I glanced around again. Same furniture, same layout, same everything. but I started noticing small things. Not changes exactly, more like absence. The air felt still, heavy almost, like the room had been closed for too long. But that didn't make sense. I was just here earlier. And then I looked at the table. There was a cup there, mine, from the morning, exactly where I left it, handle facing the same way. Even the faint stain inside, I could see it, unmoved, untouched. And instead of feeling relieved, it made it worse, because it confirmed something. No one had messed things up, no signs of searching, no disturbance, which meant if someone had been here, they hadn't needed to touch anything. I don't know why that thought came, but it did, and it stayed. I slowly turned my head toward the hallway. Dark, completely dark. The kind of dark that feels deeper than the rest of the room. I couldn't see the end of it properly, just a long, quiet stretch. And for a moment, I had this very clear feeling that the rest of the house was aware I had entered. No movement, no sound. Everything exactly as it should be. But still, something felt off. Like the house wasn't empty, just quiet. Too quiet. And I swear, if something had been out of place, a chair moved, something broken, I would have felt better. At least then it would make sense. But this perfect stillness, it felt like I had walked into something that had already settled.
I didn't move for a while, staring at the same room like an idiot, trying to feel normal again. Everything's fine. I actually said it under my breath, just to hear something. Then I finally stepped further in, slow, like I was testing the floor or something. My eyes kept moving. Sofa, table, TV, corners. And that's when it started. Not something big, just small things. The kind you don't notice immediately, but once you do, you can't unsee them. I looked at the sofa again. There was a cushion on the left side, same one as always, but it felt slightly off, like the angle was different. I tried to ignore it. Maybe it was always like that. I even walked closer, stared at it for a few seconds, then looked away. Didn't want to overthink it. Then my eyes shifted to the table again. That cup. Same position, same stain. But now I wasn't sure anymore. Was the handle really facing that direction, or am I just assuming it is? I actually leaned in, trying to remember something so stupid. A cup. Who even remembers that? I let out a small breath, almost laughed again. Yeah, you're just tired. That's what I told myself. Had to be. But then, something else. From the corner of my eye, I noticed a faint glow, very soft, coming from the hallway. I froze. I hadn't noticed that before. I slowly turned my head. There it was. A dim light. Barely there, but enough to see. And instantly, my chest tightened a little. Because that light shouldn't be on. Or maybe it should be? I couldn't remember. That's the worst part. I stood there, just staring at it, trying to recall, did I leave it on this morning? I tried to picture it, leaving the house, switching things off, but the memory wouldn't come clearly. It was like my brain was skipping over it, and now both options felt wrong. If I left it on, then why did I think earlier that the house was completely dark? And if I didn't, then who turned it on? I took a step toward the hallway, then stopped. No, wait, think. There has to be a simple explanation. There always is. Maybe I'm mixing up days, Maybe I didn't even notice it earlier. Maybe the outside light is reflecting in a weird way. Yeah, that could be it. I actually turned back for a second, looked toward the door behind me, trying to match the angles, trying to prove to myself that it's just light bouncing off something. But it didn't match at all. When I looked back again, the glow was still there, same, unchanging. And that's when the feeling came back, stronger this time. Not panic, not yet, just this quiet, persistent thought, you're not remembering things right. And I didn't know which was worse, that something had changed or that my own memory was starting to feel unreliable. I rubbed my face, exhaled slowly, trying to reset. Bass, overthinking, that's it. But even as I said it, my eyes kept drifting back to that light. And the more I looked at it, the more it felt like it wasn't supposed to be there.
I didn't go into the hallway. Not yet. I just stood there, staring at that dim light, then looking away, then back again. Like if I kept checking it, it might explain itself. But it didn't. It just stayed there, quiet, still, unbothered. And after a point, I kind of gave up trying to figure it out from a distance. I stepped back instead, leaned slightly against the wall, and just paused. Tried to think straight. Okay, what's actually wrong here? Door unlocked. Light maybe on, maybe not. Cushion slightly off. That's it. That's all. Nothing solid. Nothing you can point at and say, ye problem hai. And that's when it started shifting, from the house to me. I ran a hand through my hair, exhaled slowly. Maybe I'm just tired. It made sense. Long day, late night, brain overloaded. Of course things would feel off. Of course memory would be patchy. This isn't the first time, right? I tried to convince myself of that. Tried to remember other days, small moments where I forgot things. And yeah, there were some. Like I've left my keys inside before. Once I even forgot to turn off the stove, almost caused a whole issue. So it's not impossible. I'm not perfect. But still, this felt different. Those things, they were obvious mistakes. Clear. You realize them instantly and go, shit, I messed up. This felt slippery. Like I couldn't hold on to any one version of what happened. Every time I tried to remember locking the door, the memory changed slightly. 1 second, I could see myself turning the key. Next second, it was just me standing there, unsure. Same with the light. Same with everything. And that started bothering me more than the door itself. Because if I can't trust my own memory, then what am I even going off of? I looked around the room again. Everything still in place, still quiet, still normal. And yet, I didn't feel normal inside it. I started thinking back, not just today, but recently, last few days, trying to see if there were signs, anything I ignored. And weirdly, a few small things came up. Nothing major, just moments. Like a couple of nights ago, I could have sworn I left my room door slightly open, but when I woke up, it was fully shut. I remember standing there in the morning, staring at it for a second, then just brushing it off. Must have closed it without thinking. Then there was this one time I found my phone on the table in the lounge, and I was sure I had taken it to my room. I even checked my pockets twice that night. Again, I ignored it, blamed it on being distracted. But now, standing here, those small things didn't feel so small anymore. They felt connected, like a pattern I didn't notice before. Or maybe I'm just trying to create one now. That thought hit me hard. Yeah, that's what this is. You're connecting random things, making it bigger than it is. I actually nodded to myself like I had solved it. But the relief didn't come, because even while I was telling myself that, there was this quiet resistance inside, like a voice that wasn't agreeing. Not loud, not dramatic, just there, saying, if it's all in your head, then why does it feel so real? I swallowed, looked toward the hallway again. That light was still on, exactly the same. And suddenly, I didn't want to check it anymore. Not because I was scared of what I'd find, but because I was scared of what it would confirm. Either way, something wasn't right. Either I was losing track of my own actions, forgetting things, misplacing things, imagining patterns, or there was another explanation, and I didn't know which one was worse. I pushed myself off the wall, stood straight again, trying to act normal even though there was no one there to see it. Bus, enough. I said it quietly, like I was shutting something down. But my eyes, they didn't listen. They kept drifting back to that hallway, to that soft, steady light. And the longer I stood there, the more it felt like I wasn't the only one trying to figure things out.
I tried to move on. Seriously. I forced myself to stop thinking in circles and just act normal. So I walked further into the room. Slow, but this time I didn't stop. I went past the table, past the sofa, like I'd done 100 times before. Nothing happened. No sound, no movement. Just me walking in my own house. And for a second, I actually felt a little stupid. Like, maybe that's it. Maybe I really did overthink everything. But then, something small again. I glanced at the TV wall. There's a small shelf under it where I usually keep random stuff, remote, keys sometimes, a pen. And the remote was there, same place, but not really. It was slightly angled, facing outward. I always keep it straight, flat, aligned with the edge. It's just a habit, a stupid, pointless habit, but I know it. And seeing it like that, it paused me again. Not fully, just enough. I walked closer, picked it up, turned it in my hand. Nothing unusual about it, just a remote. I placed it back down, straight this time, perfectly aligned. And as soon as I did that, I had this weird thought. What if it wasn't like that before? Like, what if I'm the one changing things now and then forgetting I changed them? That hit harder than it should have. I stepped back slowly, eyes still on that shelf, trying to lock it in my memory. Okay, now it's straight. Simple, clear, no confusion. But even that didn't feel stable, because I had the same confidence earlier too, about the door, about the light. And look where that got me. I rubbed my hands together, trying to shake it off, and that's when it started. That feeling, subtle. At first, I thought it was just tension, you know? When your body's a bit on edge and everything feels sharper? Yeah, like that. But then it didn't go away. It stayed, right there at the back of my neck, like a slight pressure. Not physical, but close enough. And without thinking, I turned around, quick, just to check. Nothing. Same room, same silence, but now it didn't feel empty anymore. I stood still, listening again, trying to catch something. A shift, a breath, anything. Nothing. But still, that feeling didn't leave. I moved a little, took a step to the side, and again, instinctively, I looked behind me. Empty. Again. I even let out a small breath, almost annoyed at myself. Busker. But my body wasn't convinced, because every time I looked away from a corner, it felt like something might be there, just out of view. Not moving, not doing anything, just present. I walked toward the hallway slowly. That dim light was still there, unchanged. and the closer I got, the quieter everything felt, if that even makes sense, like the silence was getting thicker, heavier. I stopped just before the hallway entrance, didn't go in, just stood at the edge, looking at the light, trying to see beyond it. But the angle didn't allow much, just a portion of the wall, a bit of the floor, nothing else. And yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that if I stepped in, I wouldn't be alone. No sound, no movement, no proof, but still, that certainty. I turned my head slightly, looked back into the lounge. Everything exactly where I left it. The remote straight, the cup still there, the cushion same angle, normal, all of it. But now that normal felt staged, like everything was placed just right, on purpose, and I was the only one who didn't understand why. I swallowed, looked forward again, toward that quiet, dim hallway, and for the first time, a clear thought formed. Not loud, not panicked, just calm and heavy. If someone is here, they're not trying to hide.
I didn't step into the hallway. Not yet. I was still standing right at the edge, staring into that dim light, trying to force myself to just go in and get it over with. Bus dekh gaya. Nothing's there. I even whispered it, like saying it out loud would make it true. But my feet didn't move. They just stayed planted. And then, behind me, a sound. Soft. Very soft. Like something lightly touching wood. I froze. Didn't turn immediately. Couldn't. My whole body just locked. I listened. Nothing. Again. Complete silence. For a second, I thought maybe I imagined it. It happens, right? When you're tense, your brain fills in gaps. But then, it came again. This time clearer. A slight shift. Like something being adjusted. Not dropped, not dragged, just moved a little. And it was definitely coming from the lounge, behind me. My throat went dry instantly. Slowly, very slowly, I turned around. The room looked the same, exactly the same. Sofa, table, TV. Nothing out of place. But I knew that sound came from here. My eyes scanned everything, quickly at first, then slower, trying to find it, trying to prove it wrong. And then I saw it. The remote. On the shelf. It wasn't straight anymore. It was angled again, slightly turned, just like before. I swear I had fixed it. I remember doing it. I remember telling myself, okay, now it's straight, clear, certain. And now, it wasn't. I didn't move, didn't go closer, just stared at it from where I stood, waiting for it to move again, for something else to happen. But nothing did. It just sat there, silent, like it had always been that way. I felt this cold wave run through my chest, not panic yet, something else, heavier, because now there was no explanation left. Either someone had just moved that while I was facing the hallway, while my back was turned, or something was happening that I couldn't understand. And honestly, I don't know which one scared me more. I took a slow step back, then another, without breaking eye contact with that shelf, like if I looked away again, I'd miss something worse. My breathing had changed, shallow, uneven, and the silence, it wasn't empty anymore. Now it felt occupied, like the room was holding something in. I swallowed, forced myself to speak again. Hello? My voice came out lower than I expected, almost dry. It didn't echo, didn't carry, it just died in the air. No response, of course. But even that felt wrong, because it wasn't just no one answering. It felt like something heard it and chose not to. I kept staring at that remote,
trying to catch any movement, any sign. Nothing. And then, very gently, from somewhere deeper in the house, past the hallway, I heard it. A small sound. Not loud, not sudden, just a shift, like weight adjusting on the floor. And this time, there was no doubt. That didn't come from me. I didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even breathe properly. Because in that moment, everything became very clear, simple, heavy, final.
I didn't move. Not after that sound. It's strange. I always thought if I was ever in a situation like this, I'd react instantly. Run, shout, do something. But I didn't. My body just stopped, like it was waiting for instructions, and none were coming. I was still facing the lounge, eyes locked on that shelf, that remote, like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. But my focus wasn't there anymore. It had shifted. Somewhere behind it. Deeper. Toward the hallway. Toward that sound. My breathing got quieter, without me even trying. Like some part of me didn't want to be heard. And that's when the thought came in. Clear this time. No hesitation. If someone is here, then where are they? I swallowed slowly. My eyes moved, not fully turning my head, just scanning. Sofa, empty. Corners, nothing. Floor, clear. Every visible space in front of me, empty. And that made it worse. Because the only place left was behind me, or further inside, places I couldn't see. I felt that pressure again, at the back of my neck, stronger now, not just a feeling anymore, more like awareness, like standing too close to someone without looking at them. I tried to ignore it. Tried to stay still, because moving felt dangerous. Like the moment I shifted, something else would too. But staying like that wasn't helping either. My mind started running faster now. Too many thoughts, overlapping. Maybe someone broke in. Maybe they're hiding. Maybe they're watching you right now. That last one stuck. It didn't pass. It stayed there, repeating quietly. Watching you. Watching you. I clenched my jaw, forced myself to think logically. Okay, if someone's here, they have to be somewhere. Rooms. There are only a few. Bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, hallway. That's it. No place to disappear. No place to just vanish. So why does it feel like they're not in any of those? Why does it feel like they're just around, not fixed? Not in one spot. I shook my head slightly, trying to snap out of it. Think properly. But even that sounded weak, because another thought came in, quieter, but sharper. What if they're moving when you're not looking? My chest tightened. I didn't turn. I didn't check. Because suddenly, I didn't trust the moment between looking and not looking. Like something could happen in that gap. Something small. Just enough. I took a slow step back. Then stopped again.
Every movement felt loud, even though there was no sound. And the silence now, it wasn't just heavy. It felt intentional, like it was being maintained, held in place. I looked toward the hallway again. That dim light, still there, unchanged. But now it didn't feel distant anymore. It felt close, too close, like the source of everything. I realized something then. Something simple, something obvious. I hadn't checked the rest of the house. Not properly. I was just standing here, guessing, letting my mind fill in everything. But the real answer was somewhere inside, and that thought should have pushed me to move, to check, to do something. But instead, it did the opposite. Because the moment I imagined actually walking in, checking each room, opening each door, I felt this deep resistance. Like every instinct in my body was saying, don't. Not because something might be there, but because it already is. I stood there, frozen between two choices. Stay here, in the open, exposed, or go inside and face whatever's waiting. And I swear, neither felt safer. My eyes slowly drifted, one last time, toward the hallway, toward that quiet, dim light. And this time, it didn't feel like an empty space anymore. It felt like a place someone was standing in, not moving, not making a sound, just waiting for me to come closer.
I wasn't alone in the house, and whatever was inside knew exactly where I was. I finally moved. I don't even remember deciding to. I stepped into the hallway. Slow, careful, like I was trying not to disturb something that was already there. The light was coming from the kitchen. Dim, yellow, familiar. Nothing strange. At least, not at first. I stood at the entrance for a second, then leaned slightly to look inside. Everything looked normal. Sink, counter, cabinet. Exactly the same. No movement, no sound. Empty. I let out a breath I didn't even realize I was holding. See? Nothing. I whispered it. Almost convincing. I took one more step in, then another. And that's when I noticed it. The back door. It was closed. Locked. I could see the latch, firmly in place. And for a second, that should have made me feel better. No one could have come in from here. No one could have left either. But instead, something felt off. I just stood there, staring at that lock, trying to understand why it bothered me. Then, it clicked. Very quietly. Very slowly. If the front door was already open, and this one was locked from the inside, then who closed it? I felt my stomach drop. Not suddenly. Just sinking. Because there was no sign of anything. No forced entry. No missing things. No presence. And yet, something had moved. Something had adjusted things. Something had been here. And now, there was nowhere it could have gone. I didn't turn around immediately. I didn't check behind me. Because in that moment, I understood something worse than seeing anyone. I wasn't trying to find it anymore. I was trying to understand how long it had been here.
I didn't call anyone that night. Didn't check the rest of the house either. I just stayed in my room till morning. Lights on, door locked. I kept telling myself it was nothing, that I forgot things, mixed things up, overreacted. And yeah, maybe that's true. Maybe. But since that night, I always lock the door twice, properly. I check the handle again and again. Sometimes even come back to check it one more time, just to be sure. And it's always locked. Every time. Except, now I'm not sure anymore if I'm checking to keep something out, or to make sure it doesn't get out.